starts telling me about the role that we're going to offer you the job. And so he tells me the amount. And I got so excited. I got quiet and was like, internally, oh my God, thank you so much for picking me and giving me a job. So that was like what's going on internally. So then Bill says, are you there? And he's like, yes, I'm taking it. Boom. Just like that, I didn't negotiate. I had given away all of my negotiation power. Now, fast forward, when I started the job, he was like, we're lucky to get you, at that rate. And it didn't even click to me that he meant he got me cheaply, right? Because I didn't negotiate. So it took me several years to realize that I was supposed to negotiate because for some reason, even though I haven't engaged, I thought they were supposed to say, okay, let's negotiate. And they don't say, let's negotiate. They throw out the number and they expect you to counter. It's very rare that the first offer is the very best offer because they buffer in that room to go back and forth with it, okay? So, several years ago, I got involved with an organization called Labor League. It was the largest millennial career website for women. Now it's inclusive and it's for everybody. So, my first Labor event, they talked about the gender wage gap, salary negotiation. And I didn't know what the gender wage gap was or if it was real, so I decided to do some research and I found out that yes, women do get paid less than men. And then I got upset, and then I got pissed off, and then I decided to do something about it. So I'm on a mission to eliminate the gender wage gap. And one of the ways that I do that is I teach salary negotiations. So while I focus on women, this is not just a women's issue, it's an everybody issue, and the more that all of us know how to negotiate and we understand the complexity of the problem, then we can close the gap. So today I'm not going to be focused on the overall mission, but I just want to tell you who I am. Today we're going to get in the weeds of negotiating your job offers. So if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. If you don't want to raise your hand, you can text me your questions, and I'll make sure I answer any of your questions. We're going to do a couple of exercises today. The printer is down in front, so we're not going to do the case study that I normally do, but we're going to do some other fun exercises. So immerse yourself in the exercise. Don't get frustrated. This is a learning experience. Every negotiation is different, okay? If throughout this time you think of something that you negotiated for, you remember a funny story and you want to share it, I welcome you to share your story because we all learn from each other and we collectively learn from each experience. So, let's hop into it. Our first exercise, before I teach you anything about negotiation, let's see, I'm going to get you all to split up. 3 at this table, and let's do 2 at this table and 3 at this table. Can I get one of the guys to leave? I don't want 2 guys at the same table. So, actually, we have enough to pair up in 2s. So let's do that. 2, 2, and 2. All right? So I'll let you decide how you split up. Guys, I don't want you to be together. All right. So I want you to count off 1 and 2. So we'll start with Lindsay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, 1s, you have $1. 2s, you want some of that dollar. There are no other instructions. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to have discussion. This discussion is also called a negotiation. All right? There are no other instructions. Sorry. Exercise. It's called You Have a Dollar, where I give very limited instructions just so that we workshop, we're going to be explaining why it's important to do research and not just jump into a negotiation blindly, just like the exercise we just did. So this is a modified exercise. We normally do something different, but we had some technical difficulties this morning, so we're just rolling with it. Stay tuned. All right, we'll have 1 minute left for this exercise. All right, 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, give yourselves a round of applause. You just negotiated. Now, let's talk about it. The ones. How many of you still have your dollar? Raise your hand if you still have your dollar. Here's one.
Yes. Oh, we didn't get to me giving away my dollar.
Okay, so you do have your dollar.
I still have my dollar.
Okay, Stephanie? She was okay, what about this group?
I'm getting a return on my investment.
But now you have the dollar.
No.
Okay, so Elle doesn't have her dollar. What about back here? Who has a dollar? Okay, all right. So, let's talk about some of the frustrations you experienced and the lack of information that I've given you. Who was frustrated that I didn't give you enough instructions?
Yeah.
Right? So what were you thinking when I said you have your dollar, that's it? What came to your mind? Share with me what you were thinking.
I have no position. What's about it?
What's the dollar for? What's my position? Twos, what were you thinking? You have to offer something?
Yeah. I was like,
Why don't I have the dollar? Okay. And so, who felt like the odds were tipped in their favor? Ones? You felt like the odds were tipped in your favor, yet only one person kept their dollar?
I mean, I think we were negotiating that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so, twos, did you feel disadvantaged?
Yes. Yeah.
Why did you feel disadvantaged? Okay. Did any twos feel empowered?
I think I needed more time because I was trying to do some psychology with saying here. It felt like, I could get the dollar, but I need more time.
Okay, more time, information. What else did you want? Anything else you wish you would have had before starting? More dollars? Okay. Someone said something else?
A plan or a strategy for how we can get the dollar.
There we go.
Think about the cut.
There we go. All right. Anything else? So, you all did nothing wrong in your exercise, right? What we're about to go through next is I'm going to tell you why it's important to have a strategy. Some of the things you need to do before you hop into the negotiation. Because everyone is at a disadvantage when you don't go in with a plan. When you don't go in understanding the context, the parameters, then it's easy for you to walk away with a deal that's not in your favor. Because you don't know what's a good deal and what's a bad deal. Okay? You don't know what's on the other side of that. So it's going to be your job, as much as possible, before you enter the salary negotiation, to do as much research as possible. So, how would more money change your life? Shout it out.
New car.
New car?
More travel.
More travel?
Food.
Food, yes! A food lover in the room.
Yes.
You speak my language. Anything else? Well, you know Menassi sells toys. live where you want to. You can drive the cars that you want. You can hang out when you want.
Yeah, sure.
You can also save for retirement. Saving is very important. So we're going to talk about that too. All right. So today, our workshop takeaways. I'm going to give you some resources and tools to help you prepare for your negotiations. I'm going to give you a framework to ask the right questions so that when you dive into the negotiation, you go in with a fresh perspective, not just thinking this is just an interview and I'm just here to tell them about me, but you're also going to be information gathering. And then we're going to talk about how to handle yourself in the dreaded conversation about a raise. Most of you are going into a new job, but I do want to prep you so that when you go in, you're already thinking about how you can go in and hit your performance metrics so you can ask for more money later on. Can somebody read this for me?
Sure. Always go into meetings or negotiations with a positive attitude. Tell yourself you're going to make this the best deal for all parties. Natalie Massenet.
And this is the founder of NetReporter. Okay, so she negotiates a lot. She has a lot of contracts. Always want to go in with a win-win attitude. You never want to go to a salary negotiation making your employer feel like they got me. Like, oh, they suckered me. You never want to feel as the employee like, oh, I should have asked for more. You don't want resentment to foster. Your salary negotiation is the foundation of a long-term relationship, right? So you want to nurture that relationship. You want to make sure that both people walk away from the table saying, I want to do business with him again. I want to do business with her again. I'm looking forward to this working relationship, all right? So that's something that you want to keep in your mind. You never want to go in and say, I got them. I beat them so bad, and they're sitting over here angry. Because it's a small world, it's a small industry, it's a small city, right? Even if you negotiate with this person, if this person finds out that you play dirty, then your reputation is kind of muddy, and you got to come back from that. So, I want you to get your laptops out or a piece of paper and write down from this video do's and don'ts, okay? You can pick which person or you can write about both people. But the do's and don'ts from this exercise of what you should do in your salary negotiation versus theirs. Now this clip is really short, so don't get too deep, but just on the surface level.
I thought you'd be excited to have an acting job. Say, tell the truth is not in the cards right now. I thought you'd be excited to have an acting job.
If it's an acting job, we should get paid.
Yeah, you can get paid in experience.
I want to actually get paid.
All right, what do you want?
$600 for the day, plus overtime if we go over 8 hours. I'll do my own hair and makeup, and I want you to pay for the 6 weekends of acting camp that my mom can't afford.
$50 for the day, and a 2-week acting class at the YMCA, yours cheap.
$500 and a 4-week acting class.
$300 and a 3-week class.
Done.
I would have done it for $500.
I would have done it for the experience.
All right, so that's a cute video. It typically doesn't go down just like that. But I want you to think about some of the things that you just saw in the video. What are some do's and don'ts that you can take away and apply to your situation? And think back, the last job offer that you accepted. What was that like? You know, what could you have done better? What things did you see in this video that in hindsight, I would do this or I would not do that? So we're going to start at each table, so we can start right here. And then just tell me what you would do and what you wouldn't do.
Based off of that video?
Based on this video.
Well, I know the girl definitely had a plan. Like she knew what she wanted. That's very key.
Okay. What else?
Having that positive, charismatic attitude.
Okay, what else?
wanted. She didn't really say her value, what she can give back.
Okay. What else?
Aren't you not supposed to go first and say what you want first? Aren't you supposed to like let them give you an offer first and be like, I don't think so. Something like that.
Great point. We're going to talk about that. All right? Anything else? So you all picked up some really important things from the video. Let's talk about the confidence for a second, because that one didn't come up for you. Do you feel like either one of them were confident going into it? They both were confident, okay? And what about their body language? What did their body language tell you?
It always sounded like they looked like they were both open to hear what each other had to say. Like they're just talking at breakfast. So their defenses weren't up. They weren't coming in with a bad attitude.
Exactly. So going back to attitude, then the body language was open. The body language said, I'm here to hear what you have to say. We're just having a conversation. And so at the end of the day, every negotiation is just a conversation. It's not a battle. Nobody is pulling out pots and gloves. Because when you go in and you have my dukes are up, I'm here to fight, then it gets messy and it gets combative. And then everyone's guarded, and you can't have that open dialogue because at that point you're trying to defend yourself and you're trying to keep what you have and you don't want the other person to win. But in the salary negotiation, you have to keep in mind that they want you because you bring value to the company. And you want to work for the company because there are things that you like and plus you want to be paid. So let's talk about the value that you deliver to the company. You all have just invested in yourselves. And you went through this course. And so while you don't have years of UX experience, you all have experience doing something, right? And those years of experience, you built up a bank of transferable skills, okay? So the number one thing that I get when I teach this class is people say, well, I don't have that UX experience. You do. Because the immersive class that you just went through, all of you have something to show for it, right? You can go to your URL and send it out. So don't think that I have to accept the lowest end of the wage spectrum, okay? For one moment, I want you to think about the transferable skills that are easy for you to take from your last role, whether it's in real estate or sales, and you've negotiated a lot of sales, but you probably negotiated more on behalf of other people, okay? So those same skills that you had, even in education, you all have negotiated a lot, especially with your students. And so you just don't realize how much you were doing it, okay? But in addition to your negotiation skills that you have and you don't realize that you have, your organization skills, your ability to get the job done, you're very proactive or you're a leader, even things that you do outside of your 9 to 5, whether it's playing soccer or you're a team player, or if it's volunteering at a local organization, you have skills that you're utilizing every day that you're taking to your next job. And because you have those skills, you can go in and request the top dollar. So when you think about the value that you deliver, I'm going to give you a short story. I was working with a group in Texas, and so I go back and forth between here and different parts of Dallas teaching the same type of workshop. This lady came up to me and she said, I was telling my son one day when I picked him up about your class, and at the beginning of the summer, he went down the street to the local car wash, and he applied for a job. And on his application, he put 50 cents more than minimum wage. So everybody knows that at the car wash, they just pay minimum wage. It's a car wash. So the manager said, why do you want 50 cents more? He said, I've been washing my mom and dad's car for years. This kid is like 14. He's like the age where you can just start working, right? He goes, I've been washing cars for years. I have plenty of experience. I know how to wash the windows. I also know how to clean the inside. And I can get the crud out the tires. Okay? If a 16-year-old can go for their very first job at a car wash and say, I have years of experience, then you can too. Because you've been in the professional world, honing your skills, you know how to communicate, you know how to resolve problems, you know how to resolve conflict if you don't agree with somebody on your team or your superior or your client, you know how to navigate those things. So all of that is the value that you've been adding organization. So, for everyone who has their resume ready to go, who has their resume ready to go to start applying for jobs now? Okay, that is the value that you add to the organization. So as you're scrolling through websites looking for jobs to apply to, when you read the job description, as you're reading the job description, most of the time you'll think, oh, I can do that because I've done this. Okay? Sometimes those bullets on your resume don't say what's in your head. So it's going to be your job to customize your resume, which means sometimes wiping out what you have under that section. And all that stuff that pops up in your head that says, oh, I can do this because I've done that, you have to make sure that's on your resume because they're not going to read your mind, right? And they're not going to read in between the lines. So you have to explicitly state that. That is the value that you add to the organization. All right? So make sure every time you customize your resume. Now I'm going to take it one step further. Most people, when they apply for a job, the first thing that they do is they fill in that box with the asterisk that says salary requirements or salary history. How many of you feel confident in popping in a number there? Sometimes.
It just depends on the position.
Okay. Does
Now,
anyone? Go ahead.
right now, it's going to roll.
Right.
But in the past, I would have filled out.
Okay. So this is what you do. Based on your market rate. The market rate is what companies in Atlanta pay for a UX designer or for a data analyst in your case. Okay? So how do you figure out the market rate? You do a couple of things. The first thing I want you to do is talk to your network. The GA alumni, they have jobs all over. Companies all over Atlanta and all over the country. You want to tap into those people and ask them, hey, your first job after you transition, what was the starting rate? You don't have to go to a person and say, Lindsay, how much you got at your first time? Because people are not comfortable telling you, oh yeah, I started out at $75,000. That's not how society is set up. So what you want to say is, hey, I've been in the education field, and now I'm transitioning to this, I'm looking at this type of role. What type of salary should I expect? And when you say what type of salary should I expect, they're going to give you a pretty good range, okay? So you talk to GA alumni, talk to other people in your network that may have done something similar, or they work at companies who hire in the roles that you're applying for. That's going to be your first check. And this is way before you fill out that application, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to set you up for success when you fill in that box, okay, on that application about what your salary expectations are. The next thing, salary.com, paycl.com, Glassdoor, and Paycel. These are all websites that you can go to and find out what the market rate is. The thing with these websites is it's a lot of self-reported information. So it's good to get a basis and to start somewhere. But it's not always accurate. It's also important to know that these are just an average. So if you're above average, you need to be aiming at the higher end of the range or even above the range, okay? So when you go to the websites, keep in mind that you're an average. Things that you need to pay attention to. If you're looking to stay in Atlanta, make sure you put Atlanta in the city area. Title, UX designer, data analyst, data scientist, research, data, whatever the appropriate title is for the research aspect of it. Make sure you're putting in the right title. And then you're going to put in your education background. You're also going to put in your years of work experience. What that's going to do is it's going to give you a number. And so don't just think, oh, my range is 40,000 to 60,000, right? You got to be really specific. So look at the details of it. A lot of these times the report is going to be detailed. It's going to take you about 15 minutes to fill all the information out. It's worth the 15 minutes if it's going to increase your salary by $10,000. So from earlier this summer when I came here, the guys who were, and it was two guys, who were finishing this class and about to interview. One of them negotiated for $10,000 more, one of them negotiated for $5,000 more. So they used the information that they learned from this class. And one thing that the guy told me after the fact, when he called me, he said, Jacqueline, I have to be honest with you. I did not want to figure out what the market rate was. He was like, I just felt like it was a waste of my time. He was like, that was 15 minutes, I could be doing something else. He was like, $5,000 more, he was like, it was worth it. 15 minutes, $5,000, and he was like, and I really like my job. So don't skip this part. A lot of times people think this is just the weeds, it's a small detail. All of the small details help you stay prepared. The better prepared you are going into the negotiation, the better the outcome is. So, what to ask? You're going to go in here and you're negotiating with somebody you don't know in an industry that you're very new to. And so you need to set yourself up with the basic questions we learned in elementary school. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. So you have a job description. Let me take a step back. Once you get your numbers, your market value, then you know what number to put in on the application when you apply for the job. What's going to happen next is you're going to get a call from somebody, either a hiring manager or a recruiter. And one of the first things they're going to ask you is what? What salary are you looking for? That's going to be one of the first questions that's going to come at you. And you don't want to say, well, I'll take something in between $50,000 and $60,000, because guess what they're going to give you? Maybe 55, probably 50. They might even come at you with an offer for 48. And then say, oh, we'll give you 50, right? That's called anchoring right there. So what I want you to do is when they ask you for a specific number, I don't want you to throw out a number at first. What I want you to do is say, I'm really interested in this role based on the job description, but I need to know more about the role before I can give you my salary expectations. And it's really important to talk about, you need to know more about the role before you can talk about your salary expectations. Don't just blurt out a number, although it's going to be tempting because you're ready to get a job, you've invested all of this money in yourself to transition careers, so you're ready to jump in and just be like, yes, let me just get my first job under my belt. Don't be tempted to do that. So, from my experience, I worked at a staffing and recruiting company. My job was the account manager, so I wasn't a recruiter. My first day, I went out to a client in Alpharetta, and they said, hey, I'm hiring for this job. The hiring manager was sitting at the table, I was so excited, slides over a piece of paper with the job description. So I take it, I look at it, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to my recruiters, and I'm going to tell my recruiters that I need the most awesome person for this role. I get back to my office, I get the recruiters together, I'm like, hey, I need you to go find this person. So the recruiters ask me all of these questions that I can't answer because I'm an ex-hiring manager. And then, but they still do it, right? Because I persuaded them, hey, find me this person, the manager is ready to hire today. So the recruiters do their thing. A couple of days later, I call the hiring manager, hey, I'm sending over some resumes. And the hiring manager tells me, this isn't the person that I'm looking for. Neither is this person. And I'm looking at the resume and the job description, and I'm like, these aren't the perfect people for this job. And then they say, well, this person doesn't speak French. Well, French isn't on the job description. And this person has worked at really large companies, and we're a smaller company. So they're not going to understand our culture, or vice versa, you know? So as I was learning this role, I started to say, wow, the job description is not really 100% what the hiring manager is looking for. So if you base your research finding out the right salary for that position, for that title, figuring out the market rate, without fully understanding the role, then guess what? You can be accepting an offer for a position that's at a much less salary than what you should be expecting, but also, you don't really know what you're signing up for. And how many of us have taken a job and then you start doing the job and you're like, this is not what they said I would be doing. That is not what the job description says, right? So it's kind of like a fill-in-the-blank game. So first, you figure out the number just so that you can put the market rate for the title that they have listed on the job on the online application. Once you get on the phone, your goal is to fill in the blanks on that job description. So that's where you get with the who, what, when, where, and how, okay? So you want to start off, who's the best person for this role? You think you're the best person for this role, obviously, because you're applying to it. So you want to ask types of questions like, who has been successful in this role in the past? And what are some of the characteristics of that person, okay? Because it's going to give you an insight into the team culture, or if it's a new team, the type of person that they're looking, that they think might be most successful in that role. So who's going to be the most successful person in this role, or who has been the most successful person in that role? You can create your own questions based on that, let the conversation flow naturally. The next thing you want to do is what? What are the expectations of the person in this role? This is really important, because this is where you're really going to start filling in the blanks. Because the job description might say you're doing X, Y, Z, but what they expect is going to be A, B, C, okay? So if you hear something and you're intrigued by it, ask a follow-up question. Don't be afraid that you're asking too many questions during the interview process, okay? You're there to put yourself in the best light going forward, to tell them what you can do for the role, but you also need to know as much about the role as possible so that you can negotiate the very best salary. So what are the expectations? And then what are some of the challenges that you can anticipate for this team? What are some of the challenges that the company is expecting? And why is the role open? We're going to get to why later. But why is the role open, and how long has it been open? Okay? How long has it been open is a really good indicator to tell you how aggressive they're going to be with the salary negotiation. And never tell people, I'm asking these questions because I need to know how I'm going to negotiate later. Okay? Don't do that. You just want a conversation to flow naturally. So, where am I going to be? Like, where in the company will I sit? Not physically, but you're going to look at the overall organization chart. Like, what is my role? Where do I fit in the puzzle? A lot of these questions you can answer in advance by doing a Google search, looking at a press release, looking at the company's website, the company's LinkedIn page. You can look at customer reviews, the hiring manager's LinkedIn page. So anything that you can find out in advance, you want to find out in advance. The organization chart, where you're going to sit in the organization is really, really important. And the reason why that's very important for you to understand before you negotiate, because you need to know how much bargaining power you have, right? How essential is your role to their overall mission? And then, when? What are timelines like, okay? Because if you're going to have tight deadlines all the time, if you're going to be working 60 plus hours a week, if you're going to work, sometimes you're going to be super busy and sometimes you're going to be slow. When are those peak seasons? Because if for you traveling during the winter is most important, then you need to understand that you're going to be giving up traveling in the winter because that's busy season at work, or if it's a summer or whatever. All of these things matter because when you go in to negotiate, you're not just negotiating your salary, you're negotiating your overall package. So if you get to the point where they can't give you the salary that you want, but you want an extra week of vacation, but their peak season for being busy is winter, and that's when you really need to go so you can ski, then you're going to have a conflict there, okay? So you want to prepare yourself as much as possible to negotiate the overall package. Why? Why is this role open? What happened to the person who was in it before? What did they do well? What didn't they do well? And then how? How do you perceive this person fitting into the team? And what are their contributions going to be? Okay? A lot of these questions are the same thing asked different ways, because if you ask a question a different way, they might say something different. And you want to fill in all of the blanks to your job description. So when you look at the job description, create your own list of who, what, when, where, why, and how questions before you even hop on the phone for that phone interview. Wait till you get the call and say, hey, can you do an interview? You can create some questions in advance that you can just use generically across any job application, but this is going to be your ammunition for you to go in and justify requesting a higher salary. Does that make sense? What questions do we have? We can turn it off. Bye, y'all.